and we are going to drop into a channeling session. So let's see what Illi has to say for today. Good day to you. We welcome you to these realms of light, where the vast majorities of who you are also exist. We welcome you to these realms of light, from where your physical lives, your physical personalities, and your entire physical worlds also spring. We welcome you to this session, which is a kind of homecoming, the gathering of like minds and hearts together to co-create a new harmony, which has already been created, but you are, through your third dimensional and fourth dimensional way, in your fourth dimensional ways, through this process of time and the unveiling, about to embark on a wonderful journey of unveiling more of yourselves to yourselves, piecemeal as it were, facet by facet, revealing more and more of this multidimensional crystal that you are as you pass through your time-space reality matrix. So we wish you a fond, good journey as you embark upon this wonderful adventure of co-creation and inspiration, and helping to reflect and remind each and every one within this lovely circle, group, or triangle, or tetrahedron if you consider the higher mind perspective as well. For it will be a grand journey. Now, we make no predictions as to lengths of time or what you shall accomplish, but we can say that this crossing point, this meeting point, is very powerful for each and every one of you, for you will very much inspire the potentials for great works and great expressions of passion and love and creativity. And we are most excited that you took this time to co-create this session as well, because there are many questions bubbling up, and we very much enjoy peeking in at times on the discussions that are had, kicking around various ideas of fourth density, fifth dimensionality, the Seth Material, and that which is channeled by Bashar, by Abraham, and everything else that you are experiencing as uplifting material within your time-space reality. So thusly, we want to use this session to open it up for all the questions that might still be bubbling around within each and every one of you. Don't everybody jump in at once.
I have a question.
Very good.
Illi, I have been getting these ideas that it would be nice if we could interview you on specific topics in a structured format, similar to books with chapters, only in video and verbal, and specific topics like fourth density, and specific topics like
we understand.
Frequency. Is that something that you would be interested in helping us with?
By all means, we would be most glad to co-create that reality with you. And the benefit of topics will give a kind of focal point to the questions, while it is all well and good to bounce around all over the place, as you say. There can be much benefit to really streamlining the questions and creating that kind of structure to capture certain kinds of information in certain buckets, which would go into certain videos, which would make it easier for people to gravitate towards as they find certain topics to be of interest to them. So you don't have to impose any rigid structure of a book format, because you'll discover that many viewers will take the course or the material in a unique order that will be in keeping with their own interest and vibration and passion. But the idea of separating things into topics, buckets, if you will, is a very good idea because it'll give you a kind of focus and it will inspire you to ask those questions and to ponder the questions beforehand, as it were, so that you have a variety of questions to pull from your own bucket of questions. And of course, you will develop new questions as the sessions progress. But that is a very good idea, and we'll be most delighted to play with you in that way.
I already know that one of your subjects that you're passionate about is fourth density.
Yes.
Are there other subjects that you're just as passionate about that you might like to make us aware of so we can kind of pencil it in?
Transformation. The idea of transformation. That is our purpose, if you will. To aid and assist in the transformation of consciousness upon your planet at this time. So those topics dealing with personal growth and development and transforming through negative beliefs, transforming darkness to light, limitation to freedom, this would be very much in our vein of interest. Thusly, the fourth density material is kind of permission slip or a kind of lighthouse, if you will, to guide you weary travelers who have been passing through third density to the shores of this greater reality of yourself. Thusly, we are very excited to provide that beacon of light for those of you who are choosing to tunnel sideways towards that fourth density reality and to leave behind this sense of traveling through third density to shift to that version of Earth that is the fourth density. So we are most happy to provide that beacon, that light, and at the same time the means to tunnel sideways, as it were, as we gave the talk in the last transmission 15, tunneling sideways in time and through varieties of parallel realities. And also we would add to that the structure of existence, a kind of deeper energetic metaphysics, if you will. So these are three veins to get you started. This idea of talking about fourth density, as well as this idea of how to shift yourself to that reality that you prefer. And lastly, the structure of existence very much is to our interest at this time. And from these, more subjects can spring forth. And of course, we invite you to explore your own passions as well and bring those in as well, because what brings passion to you will inspire questions which will inspire new varieties of information that can pass through us and through this channel.
When you said the structure of existence, that's something that I find passion in.
Exactly.
I was surprised to hear it coming out so clearly, as I've been trying to put it into words, but the structure of existence very much interests me.
And that would, of course, folding into that would be the structure of time, as we
Absolutely.
have tapped into that a little bit already, but I will continue to expand this. And the structure of physical existence, all of these are very, very good topics.
Wow. So we talked about having a modern mystic TV channel or website or whatever. Does that sound like a good idea to you? You kind of listen into what we're talking about anyway, so you kind of already know what we've been talking about. Does that sound like a good idea?
Indeed, we do listen in through the auspices of this channel, because remember, we are the higher mind of this channel, as well as the reflective higher minds of each and every one of you as well, in a reflective format, of course. And by all means, continue to explore. Now, recognize that nature can give you a very powerful metaphor here, because the idea is a plant may produce 100 seeds and perhaps 5 of them, 10 of them, 20, it doesn't matter, but some subset of them will grow into trees or into new flowers or new plants, and a variety of them will not. And so we invite you to explore the co-creation of a variety of ideas as seeds, and do not be too concerned if some of them bloom or some of them don't bloom or some of them bloom at some odd and peculiar times. By all means, just explore the passion, and if you feel drawn to this idea, by all means allow yourself to explore it without being concerned whether it will come to fruition, as you might define fruition to be in your time-space terms. The acting of the passion can act as a platform which will launch you to another project that will come to fruition, and that does not deem this platform as a failure in any sense of the word, because you use it as a springboard. So sometimes you hop through several platforms, as it were, to wind up with the project that will truly come to fruition as you define fruition in your terms. So don't be too concerned as to whether, if you pursue this TV idea, whether that's exactly the way it will manifest, or whether it will simply be a springboard to yet another project, which could be a springboard to another project. So allow yourself the freedom to hopscotch through a variety of ideas, because some ideas are simply put there by your higher mind to get you moving in a certain direction, and will be used as a springboard sometimes into a larger vision that incorporates that idea, or perhaps slightly sideways into another reality, which then that idea was there just to get you moving and to raise your frequency just enough so that you can perceive that other reality, which would not be able to be given to you had you not jumped onto that platform. So don't be so concerned about finding just the right way to do something. Just allow yourself to express it and build it, and allow it that then to be the platform to continue moving in that direction, or perhaps to take a hard right or a hard left and shift to yet another reality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Very good. By all means, create.
Ian, you want to talk to Illi? Ask him anything?
I was just going to ask about what he thought about interviewing Deb Tejada from Seth's research project. And I was also thinking about I actually think like a separate project, like a mini documentary about Seth's research project would be very interesting. What are your thoughts about Deb?
Well, we will not be the ones interviewing her, so the question perhaps is, what are your thoughts about her? But we understand you are passionate about this idea, and so we will encourage you to continue moving forward, and the answer will be very similar, because you have this idea of a documentary and that is pulling you forward, and use that momentum to start creating, to continue creating. And by all means, congratulations for that which you have already created and co-created. You've created more waves in the Seth community than you even realize, and so congratulations for that. For each time you make a move on your passion, you inspire others to make moves on their passion. And so you have stepped into a completely new reality now with the material itself. And thusly you will experience the material in completely new ways as a result of the actions that you have already taken. Now, that being said, continue to act. And same answer. The documentary is now pulling you forward. You may start acting in that direction, and another idea might come to you completely sideways, and the documentary might be put on hold, or it might simply evaporate, or it might simply continue to be part of your excitement. There's a lot of choices involved, and we simply invite you to, like a kid in a candy store, choose the most delicious candy that you can put your eyes on. And while this appears to be the documentary at this time, it might appear to be something slightly different as you raise your vibration, and other ideas are more readily than given to you by your higher mind, which you cannot yet receive yet because you're not the vibration of that yet. So you don't have to marry yourself to the vision. Use the vision to propel you forward. Use the vision to move and raise your vibration. But then also let that particular vision go and allow yourself to continue to move forward. So be very fluid with it. Be very relaxed about it. By all means, it is absolutely a wonderful idea, especially to the degree that it pulls passion through you, that it enables you to channel that passion frequency through you, because as you raise your frequency, so too will the vision itself expand. So don't pigeonhole yourselves with any particular one vision, because oftentimes that vision will be very, well, shall we say, limited by comparison to what you could create. And if you hold on to things too rigidly, then you might pigeonhole yourself. So we are simply saying, be very relaxed about it and use it to propel you forward like a rocket fuel, move you forward in the direction, and allow yourself to be surprised what that direction is. Build into your planning the element of surprise, which might take you in unexpected and new directions and new horizons, which you, by definition, are not yet perceiving from your physical vantage point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does, and thank you for the encouragement. Working with My Psychic Manifesto, Seth, actually, I'm clairaudient, and Seth at one point had told me it was kind of it was an honor when I was listening to Jane Roberts in trances. Seth, as you said, Seth told me it was an honor to be a subject of the project, My Psychic Manifesto. I wanted to ask you, sometimes when I communicate with the voices that I hear, Cecilia, and I saw their ship, sometimes it seems like it's just like an echo I'm getting of my own consciousness. But I know that Cecilia is a separate entity from me. And with transmission, the last transmission that we had, I asked you about this, but I'm going to ask again. Sometimes it seems like Cecilia is just like a female echo of my own higher consciousness. And then sometimes it seems like she's an entity apart from me. I don't know if you can expand on this at all, but I'm not sure if I articulated that well. But I know she's a separate entity. I believe she's may or may not have a physical counterpart in another dimension. But sometimes it seems like she's alert and aware, and then sometimes it seems like she's just an echo of my own. It's almost like she's an echo.
It's this and that. So it is common in your reality to exclude and focus down and say, oh, it is this. And by saying it is this, you're implying it is not that. But multidimensional reality is very inclusive, and thusly there are all kinds of variations and varieties, and it cannot be contained within one simple definition. But yes, counterpart, but there are times when the overlap of your frequencies creates a kind of resonant chamber that you sometimes tap into as well, and the reverberations of your connection to her can be felt in your vibrational field. So sometimes you are experiencing it that way as well. She does also serve as a reflective mirror to you. Thusly, when you speak to her, you will sometimes feel that you are speaking to yourself. But this is also true for us as well, for we too serve as reflective mirrors, as our name exemplifies. So there's a variety of consciousness dynamics taking place here. So yes, it is all of these and more. And it is a very supportive energy. And by all means, just continue to explore it and continue to be curious and to ask those questions and to allow yourself to see the fruits of that relationship in your physical life. For that will inform you as to the goodness that it contains for you. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I have one other thing I wanted to ask you about, which was I had a pretty profound psychic experience in Sedona, Arizona, not too long ago, earlier this year. And as opposed to coming up, my plan was to go back to Sedona for this few day period, and instead I decided to come up here. Cecilia and her friends encouraged me to come up here instead of going back to Sedona to look for another, gateway or coordination point. And she suggested that I look in the redwood forest for another coordination point. What are your thoughts on that?
You are the coordination point, and we make a fine coordination point here, do we not? At the same time, by all means, explore, for the redwood trees are very magical, and they contain many mysteries that you can tap into, and they themselves can very much be viewed as antenna that help to ground many extra-dimensional energy frequencies into your earth realm. So they can be very wonderful helpers, guides, metaphors, archetypes. So by all means explore, and there are many wonderful places to explore that contain redwood trees in this area. So allow yourself to open yourself to nature. Now you will discover this realm here is very different in vibrational frequency than the vortex of Sedona. And the contrast therein will help to spark certain kinds of awarenesses within you that you might not perhaps stumble onto if you do not act on that particular inspiration or suggestion. So by all means do explore that. The channel before you is reasonably well versed in a variety of places to explore that are natural in this area, should you have the time to do so. You will find the redwood forest contains a very, very specific frequency, and sometimes these frequencies serve to unlock portions of your consciousness in a way that you might not have that might not be so readily available if you do not avail yourself to these specific vortices and places upon your planet. This is not to say it is impossible, but it becomes more probable when you enter into these spaces. So by all means explore that.
I was also told that, Sedona is known for its red rock, like the red rock, cathedral rock, and, obviously the redwood forest. I lived in Sedona for a while, in a powerful spot within that area, and the voices have told me that there was an individual died in that house, and there was an odor in the house that reminded me of like old snakeskin. And the voices that I hear tell me that there was quote unquote an evil spirit in that house, and using I was raised as a Christian and haven't gotten, I guess, past the idea of spirits existing. There were times that very strange things would happen. I saw a woman come into my room one day with a knife. I saw like the skylight at nighttime would sometimes get completely blacked out. And the voices and that odor that I would smell, it was this overwhelming odor. I would see snakes inside the house that would come and go. I would feel very strange things and see things. Was there a quote unquote evil spirit in the house?
We would necessarily use the word evil unless you simply use evil as disconnected from the true natural vibration of a being. You can use it that way. If we redefine the word evil, we can use it that way. Now, there are a variety of spirits, of course, all around you all the time. Now, some of these spirits exist in a kind of dense astral level, whereby they do not fully recognize their particular position in existence. They have, in a large degree, forgotten their core vibrational frequency, and to some degree, sometimes they can even not be aware of their current state or situation, that they have died, for example. Some spirits continue in a kind of limbo state for some time, and you have as yet some undiscovered abilities that are latent, which may or may not be expressed depending on how you rearrange or structure your life. But you do have the capacity to communicate and to be, in a manner of speaking, a kind of spirit psychologist to aid and assist in the transformation and transition of spiritual energy that is, in a manner of speaking, lost in these currents and eddies of their own consciousness, in these self-reflective realities that are very much like, how to say it, like whirlpools of consciousness, self-reflective consciousness that reflects self back to self in such a way as to create a kind of limbo state, as we have described. So you have this ability, and some spiritual forces or presences will seek to avail themselves to individuals who have more sensitivity because they are looking for help. And a variety of you who do have these kinds of sensitivities may, from time to time, have spirits reach out to you as they recognize that you are someone that might be able to hear them. So they come knocking at your door, metaphorically speaking. So this is up to you whether you choose to engage in this kind of activity. And some portions of you in other levels of consciousness already do engage in these particular ways, even as the consciousness of the channel does as well. Some of you are crossing guards, as it were, helping people to transition from one level to the next. And so it is up to you if you choose to develop this particular gift. You are, of course, leading and guiding people through the manifestation of your next adventures, exploring the Seth Material, spreading this kind of knowledge for others that are tuned physically. So it is up to you, but that is the idea here, is that you do have that sensitivity, and so do not allow yourself to be, shall we say, thrown off by it. And you can aid and assist these individual beings if you so choose. It is up to you.
Thank you, Illi.
Well, I have a question of a personal nature. I don't usually ask personal questions, but one has been kind of rolling around in my brain. I seem to be getting active in the Odd Fellows Lodges Fellowship, and I feel like I have a past connection with it. Do I have a past connection with the Odd Fellows Lodges?
Let us reframe this a little bit, because there is no past, but you are making a connection from this life to other existences that are parallel to this one, which you would colloquially label as past. So yes, you are using that as a kind of bridge or a link to work through some aspects of your consciousness, and you can sit with this and ask yourself whether this particular mode of learning is your highest preference, and really get clear as to whether you want to embark upon this particular journey. Because once you go down a certain ways along the trail, it will carry within its own momentum. There will be responsibilities and commitments. And so simply just ask yourself if this is truly the path of your passion, and if it is, then by all means go fully into it without reservation. But if you do have reservations, then consider whether you really want to open this particular pathway. Now, we know you are aware of parallel realities, so we know you already do this, and so we are just highlighting this ability that you have to look down a variety of parallel paths and see, a month down the line, a year down the line, 5 years down the line, if this is truly the path you want to be on. Because just because something moves into your physical reality awareness doesn't necessarily mean that has to be the path that you choose to materialize. So that is our suggestion. But yes, you are connecting in a variety of ways to other parallel existences, working through issues or challenges with a variety of individuals, cross-connecting across a variety of parallel lives in other times and places. So you simply just have to ask yourself, or we suggest that you ask yourself, whether this is the way you choose to continue these particular lessons, or whether there is something else that you would prefer. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Or I could do this and that and just do this for a little while and transition to that, whatever that might be.
Yes, of course. We are simply saying that as you begin to move down a certain path, it carries its own momentum, and then it can appear as if it is more challenging to step out of that current, as it were. So once you're fully in the river, being carried downstream, then it can sometimes appear as if it is almost, well, let's just say it will appear perhaps as it is difficult to get off of that stream, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Thank you.
Illi, I was told by Cecilia that at night I'm doing the alpha states exercise that we talked about during your last transmission. And I'm doing that exercise at night with the encouragement of Cecilia and the other beings that she's with. She's literally told me sometimes in the morning I'm tired because I am actually learning to fly a ship. Is it true that some of these ships are controlled mentally?
Absolutely. Of course.
And is this just a figure of speech? Am I just learning the mobility of consciousness, or am I actually being trained to fly one of these ships? I'm getting the idea that I might somehow be, my nickname used to be Lizard Boy when I was younger, and I get the idea that I might be somehow hybrid or, transitioning into the fourth density, while I'm alive, or there might be something a little different to me, and not in a bad way.
All of you are hybridized in a variety of ways, including all the way back to the original incursion of genetic modification by the Anu. So you all carry extraterrestrial genetics by being Homo sapien, the way that you know yourselves to be. Now, many of you make connections to parallel lives and receive downloads and share information both ways, we might add. And thusly it can feel as if you are hybridized in this particular way because you take on a vibrational frequency of your counterparts in other civilizations. And thusly you feel as if you carry some of that vibration within you, and so you can feel a little bit, shall we say, less human, and like you carry a mixture of some other extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial energy. This doesn't necessarily imply genetic manipulation, although it can, but very much a vibrational transformation or sharing, kind of a energy sharing program, if you will. So you are receiving these cross connections. Now, as to the nature of consciousness and mobility of consciousness, this and that, because you do have counterparts in these more, as you would say from your vantage point, more advanced civilizations, you can avail yourself to experiencing some of their consciousness and technology as a training mechanism to help you and aid and assist you with the mobility of your own consciousness in this particular experience that you're feeling and knowing yourself to be as a physical being. Now it is all mobility of consciousness. Some civilizations have created the auspices of technology to help crystallize this idea, and rather also to shift themselves to that version of reality whereby this becomes more and more apparent and more revealed to them, thereby the technology being a kind of permission slip to raise their frequency to the point where they have that ability. And so you are learning this mobility of consciousness. However, you are doing this in your physical life. It's just that you have been so densified and crystallized that you do not realize that you are doing it, but you are shifting in every moment. In every moment point, you are shifting realities. You are traveling through yourselves. You are traveling consciousness through consciousness. Thusly, you are doing this in physical terms. Now you are making a connection to this counterpart, and through the auspices of their technology and their mobility and freedom of consciousness, which will, to your vantage point, appear more evolved, you are remembering that you are already doing this in every moment point that you exist within physical reality. So you're using that existence to remember what you are doing, what you are already doing in this life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yes, it does. I really feel like the way I'm nurturing this relationship between myself and Cecilia is like there's definitely like an emotional. I think the bridge between us is the emotional connection,
of course,
and affinity that I feel for her. Like, you know, that book, The Secret Life of Plants, right? Like, plants respond if you talk to them and if you play music for them. And I mean, the bridge between us is a living thing, and I'm doing my best to nurture it because I believe that they are here. Like I have something to offer them, and they have something to offer us. And that building this bridge is really like, you know, I think they are here to help us. I don't know if they are us from the future, and it's kind of like a National Geographic thing, and they're altruistic, and maybe we have, you know, you've mentioned, Tom has mentioned DNA, or I don't know what the deal is, but I just know they seem incredibly compassionate, kind, and they want to help. And I think I can, you know, I just want to do everything I can on my end to keep building this bridge and be useful to them, and that makes me useful to people in my community.
Yes, and first of all, you are useful by your very existence. You have value because you exist. You are useful because you exist. So let us begin with that foundational truth. And from there we will build the bridge, shall we say, by speaking of your connection, which already exists, and you can nurture it by raising your vibration. And so thusly use the timings that the relationship strengthens, and when you are able to perceive more of this connection, use that as a marker to let you know that you are either doing something or have just done something that raised your frequency to the point where you can see more and more is revealed to you. Thusly, with the advent of your My Psychic Manifesto, you had more an increase, shall we say, of perception of this particular counterpart. Thusly, notice that when you do act on your passion, when you do translate your soul's energy, which is felt by you as passion, into action, that more is revealed to you, and thusly continuing to act, continuing to channel your soul's energy through your physical body that you feel as passion, and acting on that and putting that out there, as it were, physicalizing it through action, grounding it through action. That raises your vibrational frequency to the point you can see more and feel more. Now, of course, the connection is an emotional one. It is through the heart, and it is a vibrational, be more accurate to say it is a kind of resonance. And the love frequency being integrative, that which connects you to all that is the frequency band within which more and more of these communications can take place, thusly translating more of your soul's energy through your passion and action will raise your frequency to more and more of that, and thusly you will feel yourself connecting more to yourselves as nature all around you, as well as your counterparts and other members of your civilization. So does that make sense?
Yes, yeah, it definitely does. I really enjoyed working with My Psychic Manifesto because I've been asking people I work with and some of my roommates to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and they always ask what it's about, and so I've been able to start really casual conversations with them about lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences and telepathy. So it's kind of interesting. It's been a nice way to sort of open up people to these ideas.
Yes.
So I've really enjoyed it, and I try to look at this as just something. It's at least opening people up to these ideas and starting a dialogue with people around me that might be curious about this type of thing. So
yes, you're planting many seeds, as we have said, many ripples that are as yet not quite visible to you, but they are affecting many individuals, those that you know and those that you do not even know.
And I think it's been inspiring for Deb Tejada, has poured so much of her time, energy, some of her money into Seth Research Project, and I think it's encouraging to her to know that there are people that are interested in it. So
by all means, yes.
I hope to breathe some new life into it, and maybe renew some interest in the growing Seth community.
Yes, exactly. When you act on your passion, you inspire others to do the same. Thusly, your show can, in that sense, reinvigorate people to reinvestigate the material and to apply it in their lives in new ways, but also to create bridges and links and connections that might not have otherwise been made. And especially as you reach out to some of these unsung heroes within the Seth community and shine a light on them in a positive way, thusly enabling them to connect to others and share the message and spread the vibrations. And with your digital media now, your capacity to disseminate information is very, very powerful, more powerful than you truly realize. And of course, by all means, trust that those individuals that are drawn to it will be drawn to it, because it is ultimately frequency, vibration, and a resonance. But you do have great technology now at your fingertips to connect in many, many wonderful ways that you would not have been able to not that long ago. So enjoy that and put it out there, as it were.
The last time you were giving a transmission and I was by the beacon on the beach, I saw Tom's face appeared different to me during the transmission of the video. It looked almost as if you had more tissue. Tom had almost like a mask on his upper face. Like it looked like the forehead and cheeks and nose were more pronounced, and it was the skin color changed. Why did Tom's physical appearance seem different? Why did his countenance change during the transmission?
Because he is becoming more of himself, allowing more of himself to be present, and you will perceive that in a variety of ways in your own way. You will interpret it in your own way. So as you perceive more of him being present, so too will you perceive energy manifestations that will, in a manner of speaking, crystallize in a way that will make sense to your perception, skills, and abilities. And thusly, those will let you know that more is there, that more is present, that a change has occurred. Now, this will not necessarily happen each and every time, but it does happen from time to time to let you know that something else is happening. Now, that being said, as far as the energy that he is bringing through changes, what is channeled through the higher mind is sometimes the oversoul level that connects to many aspects, and sometimes we bring through a particular flavor or a particular aspect, and so you might be perceiving different energies from time to time as different aspects come in. So while you might perceive, let us use the metaphor of light, the oversoul energy in the higher mind as a kind of white light, there will be times when the energy will be passed through the higher mind in such a way as to highlight one of the colors to somewhat the exclusion of the others, and you will therefore perceive a different vibration, so it will change. So continuing this analogy, you might see white light, or you might see red by itself, or purple by itself, or green by itself, depending on which aspect is taking center stage, as it were, while the others recede into the background. Now at this timing, we are mostly keeping the energy stream very conglomerate. Should this channel continue to develop this art, there will be opportunities to explore the individual aspects more readily, so there can be more specificity over time. But for now, due to the restraints of the personality, we are keeping things very much homogeneous or more conglomerate. But nevertheless, you will perceive from time to time shifts, and the energy will change. Sometimes the vocal intonations will also change as a result as well, as different aspects come a little bit more to the foreground.
Okay.
I have a question. You were talking earlier about DNA, and you mentioned that when we were hybrid by the Anu. Could you tell us more about that?
This is the purview of some other channels, which has been told upon your world. And you may also be familiar, in fact we know you're familiar with some of the archaeology that has been done in this area, the various Sumerian tablets that have been translated. There are a variety of experts in your fields that have already done so, and so this can be investigated as well. But of course the basic story is that at some point in your distant past you were hybridized by a race of extraterrestrials known as the Anunnaki, and extraterrestrial DNA was inserted sideways, as it were, to create what you know yourselves to be as the Homo sapiens. So that is the Reader's Digest, as it were. There are a variety of sources you can investigate. We believe that Zachariah Sitchin may have touched into this, as well as
I'm well versed in Zachariah Sitchin,
as well as a variety of others, including the current and modern channel of Bashar, who speaks of this very regularly.
It's just nice to hear a confirmation that this information is accurate. Were the Anunnaki the ones that fused our DNA sequence together? The one pair of our DNA that's been fused together?
They have inserted their DNA, which also contains strains of other extraterrestrial DNA, into the naturally evolving hominids on your world, thereby creating a new species, literally. Now, when they did this, they, to some degree, put a kind of frequency or mechanism of veiling some of your abilities, so the fullness of the extraterrestrial DNA was not allowed to be expressed, shall we say, which created a very unique environment within which the soul energies could then work through a theme of exploring limitation. And it has been explored to a great degree upon your world. And now, through the Age of Awakening, you are learning to unlock these particular ways in which the fullness of the expression of that DNA was not allowed at that time. So you are turning on the lights, as it were, flicking on light switches you didn't even know you had, because the way they were hidden was such that you did not have the awareness that they were there. But now, as you begin to awaken, you are transforming great darkness to light and flipping on these light switches, as it were. So we very much are here to aid and assist in this, and we very much congratulate you for the work and the play that has already been done in each one of your physical vehicles, for you have switched on much that had been shut down and shut off. Now, this was a very unique opportunity for the variety of souls that incarnated on your world. Thusly, it was used in a very, very creative way. So that is what we can say for now.
Thank you.
Illi, if we were to have a series of dialogues that would be sort of like a video journal or sort of like, a book on tape, what topics would you like to discuss? I know you respond well to the question and answer format, but what would you envision as an outline for a series of discussions of this nature?
Well, we believe this has already been answered. So this would be the jumping off point, using those topics that have already been given. And you will discover that more can awaken within that, but the nature of action is that it will raise your frequency in such a way that more will just simply become obvious. And or we can also have further sessions that will unpack to a greater degree what else can be explored. But between these topics that have been given, you have already quite a lot to work with. And these are given first because they are kind of springboard, not only for you, but also for the future viewers that are waiting in the wings, as it were, for these gifts to be delivered and made available through this particular pathway.
I have no more questions.
Yes, we are feeling the closure is upon us. So we very much appreciate each and every one of you for being here, for being a part of this co-creation. We set powerful energies in motion, even while it might seem as if we are just having a regular fireside chat here. You will not be the same people that you are when you entered into this session, into this environment, into this field. And when we do create and co-create this bubble reality, we are traveling through consciousness, shifting as you are doing all the time. We are shifting through many, many parallel realities. Thusly, we are creating that same mobility of consciousness that is explored by other civilizations through the creation of various crystallizations of these bubbles, which become the spaceships that they travel within. You are creating your own bubble. Around you now is a bubble reality. You are in a very unique frequency zone now, co-creating this together. You are very powerful creators, and this is what we truly wish for you to understand and to know, and to contact those parts of you that do know, for you are remembering who you truly are. So know that power that is within you. And we will speak more of this relationship between love and power, which has been greatly misunderstood upon your world. And we will thusly deliver a transmission speaking of the nature of love and power. And they are like two sides of the coin. So we will then allow you to take with you whatever frequencies from this reality bubble you wish to take. And we will send you with whatever blessings are ours to give. And we will then wish each and every one of you a beautiful, lovely, glorious and harmonious, and of course a fond good day.
Thank you, Illi.
Well, all right. That was some good stuff. Can't wait to hear it. So, thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video.